What's up guys, Nick Plays Games here, and today we're going to be looking at the Take-Two conference call that took place yesterday and take a look at some pretty good questions that were asked in the call regarding Rockstar Games' future plans and how Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick decided to respond to them. Now, I've made a video in the past analyzing old Take-Two conference calls and how they've responded to certain questions about Rockstar Games, so if you guys want to check that out, I'll leave a link to that in the description. Starting us off, our first question from the call comes from Goldman Sachs and asks Strauss if he can expand a bit on what exactly GTA 5 Enhanced and Expanded will mean as a game and what the differences will be.
Our next question comes from Mike Ng with Goldman Sachs. Please proceed with your question.
Hey, thanks for the question. I was just wondering if you could expand on the GTA 5 Enhanced Edition for next holiday. It feels a little inappropriate to call it a typical remaster, and I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit about whether or not there's an opportunity for a GTA, I'll call it a replacement cycle, if you will. Thank you.
Well, it's a great question, and I appreciate the sentiment with which it's asked, because we've now sold in over 135 million units, and of course, GTA 5 was created for the last console generation, is the standard bearer in this generation, and now we've announced that it'll be available for the next generation of consoles, which is just amazing. Historically, Rockstar always delivers a great new experience with new content and new opportunities to excite, engage, and surprise players. And that's true of everything that Rockstar Games releases. Any more details, I think, will properly come from the label in due time, but we couldn't be more excited that the title will be available for the next generation of consoles.
So, as expected, Strauss wasn't too open to dropping too many details and wants to wait for Rockstar Games to make an official announcement before commenting further, which isn't surprising as we've seen this in the past with old conference calls when future projects are asked about. Now, our next question that is pretty interesting asks about GTA Online and GTA's potentially enhanced story being split up come to the release of GTA 5 for the PS5 and why exactly Take-Two and Rockstar Games decided to do this. And let's take a listen to Strauss's response here.
Hi guys, it's Matt on for Brian. Thanks for taking the question. Two, if I could. So, on GTA on the next gen, can you walk us through the decision to split it into, in the back half of next year, split it into a separate online mode and then like the upgraded version of GTA 5? Obviously, you had tremendous success kind of just packaging those two together when you went from the last generation to the current generation. So what was the opportunity that you saw, on next gen to maybe separate those two games? And then just separately thinking about pipeline now that we're kind of 3 months, into the work from home environment. Are you seeing more of an impact on games maybe that are a little farther out in the development cycle, or do you feel that the pipeline is more or less kind of on track that you would have expected it to be 3 months ago? Thanks.
Yeah, I mean the decision regarding GTA for next gen is a marketing decision and a production decision by Rockstar Games, and I'm sure they'll have more to say about that, in the coming months. But I'll leave it to them as I prefer to do. In terms of the pipeline, we've been very fortunate. As I just said, our workforce has been exceedingly productive, and I think we only have announced one delay since this whole tragedy started, and that was a delay of Kerbal Space Program 2 to fiscal 22. But apart from that, everything is looking really good and is on track and on target. No issues whatsoever.
So it looks like Rockstar may be receiving marketing help from Sony, which may be a reason as to why they decided to partner with them for GTA Online on the PS5, which is reiterated a bit more in a future question. Another question is asked later in the call about what kind of special relationship Rockstar Games has with Sony, and here Strauss tries to break it down a bit.
Hi, thanks a ton for taking the questions. I also have two, if you don't mind, for whoever wants to field them. The first, at the risk of being shot down again and just waiting for more from Rockstar, I'd love to explore the topic of the relationship with PlayStation around GTA Online, and just at a higher level, without the specifics, what sorts of factors go into the decision to make such a partnership with a company like Sony, and in particular, what sorts of things would we expect you would get in return from them in order to offer them the things you've done, including the exclusivity?
Yeah, I mean, without going into too much detail on confidential arrangements, typically we have great relationships with all of our platform partners, and we will sometimes announce a particular situation. In many instances, it's driven by marketing support and other benefits that both parties obtain from such an arrangement.
So it looks like Strauss reiterates here again that these type of partnerships mainly stem from marketing benefits, but Rockstar Games has actually had a long-time relationship with Sony, and this isn't the first time we've seen them be a bit more exclusive with the PlayStation with the announcement of Agent, a title that was supposed to be exclusive to the PS3 that has likely now been abandoned. However, if you do check out the Rockstar Games website, you will see that the game is still in their list of all of their titles. Now, something a bit more interesting is a question regarding the huge gap between Red Dead Online's updates. As we know, it was a bit over 6 months before Rockstar had released anything, and here's what Strauss had to say about the gap.
Hey Strauss, Carl, Laney, Hank, thanks for taking my questions, guys, and congrats on another solid quarter. Just two questions from me. I guess I'm curious the response you've gotten from your player community on the Naturalist experience, latest upgrade or update for Red Dead Online, and I'm also curious about future cadence of content. I think it was December last year when we got the Moonshiner update, so it seemed like it was sort of a extended period of time before we got an update. I'm just curious if that was maybe because of the work from home or if there's something else going on that sort of led to that sort of lengthy time in between updates.
Yeah, the productivity has been strong across the board and across all of our labels. And as you know, Rockstar Games decides on the cadence of updates, and it's driven by great ideas and the ability to deliver those great ideas into superb experiences. And all of our labels wait to distribute new content until it's nearly as perfect as it can possibly be. There is more content coming for both Red Dead Online and Grand Theft Auto Online this fiscal year, so stay tuned. I think it's going to be awesome.
So here Strauss is basically saying what is probably the best thing you could say to this type of question, and that the delays were mainly due to Rockstar Games wanting to put out the best possible content they could. Now, the last question I wanted to look at that had a pretty interesting answer was a question looking into Take-Two's previous announcement to release 93 new titles by fiscal 25, and whether we will at least see one new AAA title that isn't a sports game such as NBA 2K. Let's listen to what Take-Two had to say here.
Our next question comes from Alex Giammo with Jefferies. Please proceed with your question.
Thanks for taking the question. Carl, a follow-up to a previous question, but the upcoming game pipeline for 93 new titles that you mentioned last quarter that'll launch by, I think it was fiscal 25. Should we expect a similar cadence as we've seen in the past of maybe one, non-sports AAA title per year? And then I think it's 11 franchises in your portfolio now that have sold in at least 5 million units. Is it also fair to assume that the content slate will include sequels to most of those bigger franchises? Thanks.
The development pipeline certainly does include sequels to the bigger franchises, and in some cases could include sequels from new franchises to the extent they actually work. So that there's no doubt that that's the case. I'm sorry, what was the first part of the question?
If in the past, I think the goal has been one non-sports AAA title per year. Is that the cadence we should still think about?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's like, look, 1, 2, whatever it may be. That is our goal, to come up with more than what we have now, and to be more consistent with the number of AAA releases that come out every year in addition to our annualized titles. So, whether that number is 1 to 3, that certainly would be the goal.
So I think the answer we got here is pretty interesting considering Take-Two was open to admitting that some of these games will be sequels to existing franchises as well as new releases. Now, if we don't look at 2K, which is mainly responsible for Take-Two sports games, the next developer to release AAA titles would be Rockstar Games, Private Division, and Social Point. Now, Private Division and Social Point do develop games as well, but none of which are on the scale and even considerable to be AAA games compared to what Rockstar Games typically releases. So this may be hinting that we might receive more than one release from Rockstar by fiscal 25, which is basically between March 2025 to March 2026. Now, I know that's hard to believe, but we also have to consider Rockstar Games is Take-Two's strongest developer besides 2K and is responsible for more of their revenues. So I'm sure Take-Two is likely putting pressure on them to speed up development and releases, as this isn't something we haven't heard of happening before. Now, we did receive confirmation that GTA 6 would be Rockstar's next title from an oral article from Jason Schreier. However, there were many conflicting ideas of how far exactly Rockstar Games was with the game's development. Now, I'm not going to comment on this as anything I say would be completely speculation, as there's nothing official from Rockstar at the moment regarding the game, but I'm interested to hear from you guys when you think GTA 6 will be released. This pretty much wraps up yesterday's conference call from Take-Two. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and as always, it's been Nick Plays Games, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace!